We tend to talk a lot about motivation and what we should do and what kind of goals we should achieve, and it's all good, but when I look back to my life when I was 18, 19, 21, when I was just starting in this journey of life and self-growth, I didn't have any clue what I was doing. I was pretty lost and scared and also anxious quite a lot of times. And so it's no secret that your 20s are for you to build yourself up, is to find what you want to do. This is such a crucial part in your, let's say, lifetime, because you are just becoming an adult and you're thrown into this world to figure out things for yourself. So in a way, you have to lay out the groundwork for what you are about to become. And so if you don't do that work, if you don't do that groundwork, you are gonna be left behind. I want to start this business, I want to take care of my body, I want to do this and that. If you don't do none of those things, you are gonna be left depressed, you're gonna be left anxious, and you're just not gonna be in peace with yourself. In general, the life for me that I want to have is more about doing things and less about having. I think less about having an amazing car or whatever, and more about what kind of impact I can make on other people. And unfortunately, me, who was 20, 21, I don't know, he was pretty confused and didn't really know what to do. And so if there's anything that catches his attention grabbers, he would give in without any hesitation, without any doubt. I think what is really important is to have some knowledge or guidance to avoid those fatal traps or mistakes, especially in your early 20s, because that is the most crucial period of your life, because it kind of lays the groundwork. It makes you who you will become later on in your life. If you don't take any action, if you don't do any work, you're gonna create a shitty, crappy version of you. But if you put in some work and if you avoid some stupid mistakes that we can do as young people, you're gonna build yourself as an impressive human being. And so these things, 3 things that I'm gonna mention in this video, are gonna differentiate you from your peers. Are you achieving some stuff? Are you throwing some challenges at yourself and leveling up your life? Or are you the same person who was a couple of years ago? Did you change anything? If you didn't, then probably you are being a victim of these traps and these mistakes. Number 1 is gonna be promiscuity. I don't really know how to put it in, let's say, in a PG way, but I'm just gonna call it a skirt. You know what I mean? I don't want to say the P word. The thing about promiscuity or whatever, skirt, is that once it gets into your brain, there's really no easy way out. The world is built in a way nowadays that attention is the currency. Back in the days, right, like last century, if you knew the most stuff, you would be the man, right? He knows so many stuff. So the currency was knowledge. But nowadays, currency is attention, and everything is fighting for your attention, especially promiscuity, especially you being hooked into these toxic songs, always thinking about like girls and fantasizing. You know, this is not really a healthy place to be, and I'm not really sure who can relate, but I'm coming from a place where I would be thinking about girls a lot. When I was in college, I would be talking to them all the time, approaching them. I'm thinking like, if I spent less time on that, maybe my social skills would be worse. Maybe I would not be as confident as I am nowadays with talking to people or easily finding common topics to talk about. You know, the problem is that when you always spend your time on cheap pleasures, cheap dopamine, I discuss this all the time in my videos. When you watch adult content, when you scroll and like stalk models or random ass girls, and you're just sitting there taking like the passenger seat, you're not actually going out there and doing things and not talking to them and texting them. You're just like sitting there, following them, liking their posts. That puts you in a passenger seat. You are not the commander of your life. You're not the main hero, the main character. And that's the same problem that I have with watching adult content and doing this type of cheap pleasures. You're watching other people doing stuff and basically accepting, you know, like waving this white flag. I'm not gonna have this type of beautiful women with me. They're not gonna talk to me. They're not gonna be interested in me. Chasing promiscuity and skirt and whatever you want to call it is a bad place for you to start building your life if you are in your early 20s. And look, I get it. We are primal creatures. We're human beings. We want to reproduce. We want to bond with people. We want to talk to them, get attention, pleasure, etc., etc. But at the same time, think about all the times you were manipulated into clicking on some video. The worst part is nobody can teach you this. Your fathers didn't have this problem. Nobody had it. They didn't have floating pictures of naked women, thousands and thousands of them. So we are the first generation who's facing with this mass production of media distractions. For better or worse, you watching tons of adult content and scrolling through social media, stalking Instagram models. This is not gonna do any good to your mental health, but more importantly to your mental strength. Trap number 2 that you should avoid in your 20s, comfort. Now by saying comfort, I don't just mean you laying in your bed all warm and cozy, wrapped up in blankets. How the hell are you gonna talk about changing the world and being the best version of yourself and hitting the gym, working out those pecs and muscles if you are still sleeping in your bed by 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Like, you can't be talking about those things. Nobody can take you serious. More importantly, comfort is a very broad term. It could mean a shitty job that you've been working for 3 years and haven't learned anything new. It could could mean a city where you can't really find any cool people. If you cannot expand your horizons and expand your comfort zone, then this is probably a time for you to move on. If there is no potential, you should seek potential somewhere else. The most ironic thing about this is that why do we want to become rich or have an amazing house and car? It's mostly to avoid comfort. You want to get a lot of money and tons of accolades because you don't want to be in a position where you're uncomfortable. I get it. It's a very good starting point. You should be able to provide for yourself. You should be able to give yourself more options. But at the same time, isn't it ironic? Comfort kills you. Discomfort makes you grow. Yet the most sought after thing that we do is seeking comfort. We do all of those amazing things to get comfort in the future. An amazing house, amazing couch, amazing TV. I can finally sit down, watch shows comfortably. Why am I doing this? Do I want to facilitate growth or become comfortable? As an example, if you're taking cold showers in the morning, do I want to comfortably lay in my bed and just cozy morning, don't do anything? Or do I want to hop on the shower, put myself through some stress, even bodily stress, develop and cultivate that mentality of a winner? Usually the outcome and the conclusion that I come up with is that when it comes to career, your job, your business, personal growth, body, walking up to women and talking, when it comes to this type of things, comfort should be avoided. You go to the gym not to become comfortable. You go to the gym to put your body through stress, uncomfortable situations, so that later on you can come home, recovery, gaining more muscle, losing fat, so that later on you can become a better version of yourself. So as you can see, by saying comfort, I mean many things. If you are afraid of taking some steps, if you want to start a podcast, if you want to go running outside or start an amazing gym routine, but you're just afraid that people might judge you. What if people think that I'm not doing these things correctly? Don't let the small excuses which are tied to discomfort discourage you from making small steps, because this can be the most dangerous, fatal mistake that you can do in your 20s. Avoiding discomfort at all costs is gonna cost you in the future. Trap number 3 that you must avoid is consumerism. This is the thing that can really F up your life, whether you like it or not. You might say, I'm not a consumer, but you're still consuming some stuff. You're still buying some stuff. You're still falling a victim of the system and being manipulated into making decisions based on the advertisements or new products. It's how the world moves nowadays. Things are evolving and developing so rapidly in a scale that we can't even fathom. We're buying all of this stuff. Internet, phones, shoes. Our lives kind of became a catalyst for consumption. It might sound very obvious and you might just take it granted duh, this is the way the world works nowadays. I'm just gonna pull up this photo of Times Square back in the days. Buildings, everything was aesthetic, good looking, and this is Times Square nowadays. You can see the difference, right? Back in the days, buildings were buildings. There were some magazines and shops and advertisements every now and then, every here and there. But isn't it ridiculous that one of the most famous places on earth is centered around advertisement? I get it, mass production, outsourcing, cheap labor, all of these factors are contributors to our consumerist system. You might be thinking about buying this and that, a bunch of stuff that you don't actually need in your life, but you are just programmed into believing that you are not enough. Buy the next thing and maybe you will be satisfied and fulfilled, but the reality is it never goes that way. The moment you buy the next thing, you're gonna be thinking about the next one, and this is especially very dangerous for young men like you in your 20s, because imagine you're fresh out of high school, fresh out of college, that ass broke, you got maybe even minus in your bank account, and then you're maybe I should try this business, I should try doing this, taking risks, building my life up slowly, and then you got bombarded with advertisement about the newest iPhone, the best AirPods or headphones. And if you are always and constantly distracted by this type of materialistic possessions, guess what? You're never gonna be able to achieve a state where you're focused, where you just get rid of all the noise, get rid of distractions, just turn it down. What do I want to do? Do I want to try this? Or do I want to work? Do I want to study? Do I want to accomplish some things? And so if you are always in this type of rat race, you don't need all of those things. I'm not saying that you should starve yourself, go buy that shit, whatever. But then at the same time, do not assess or judge your life based on materialistic possessions. Maybe it's not about getting stuff, but more about producing stuff, putting stuff outside, having an output to the world. These 3 things can really rock your boat if you are sailing towards your ambition, your goals. So don't fall into these traps and take control of your life.